All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Z Trigger podcast. My name is William Hill, and we're going to have us another fun and exciting show this week. If you have not checked out last week's show, go ahead and check that out sometime as well. We've got a new format. We're doing a whole lot of things different than we used to do. Brandon, how you doing this week? Yet, it it sounds to me like you've been doing a lot of guitar shopping. Is it because you have that beautiful new RG sitting there and you want to buy it some toys? You see, the thing is, I can see that. I can see that because I have a. I mean, as far as budget amps go, which is what I've got an orange tube amp, and it sounds excellent distorted. It sounds excellent clean. However, it's nice being able to go from clean to distorted with the click of a switch. And that's what I've got. I've got two distortion pedals for two different heavy sounds, and I've got a clean as well. Yeah. Wow. And that doesn't shock me because everything I've used from Earthquaker is phenomenal. But they're expensive. Nope. It, Well, I mean, the thing is, while that may be true, I don't play in a band. I don't have the time for that. I wish I did. I have a little amp under my desk, and I have my cheap ass pedals. Like I've got the Hotone Whip, which was $40. I've got a DS1 that was $40, and I like the tones I get. That's about it. Well, I mean, I would never use a metal zone anyway. They're widely considered one of the worst, like, metal pedals out there. Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, I say again, I like the Hotone Whip. I get a lot of mileage out of that tone wise. Right. I mean, that's the other thing is like if I were to crank if I was to crank the micro terror up, it would give me a different distortion sound than what I've got the DS1 dialed into, or what I've got my whip dialed into. But I'll switch the sound on the whip depending on what I want from it. Like right now, the thing I've been mostly using it for, I've been going for more like a late '80s kind of distortion, sort of like what you hear on like a Savatage record. And I've been loving that to death. Like it's probably been on that setting for at least a month. So yeah, I hear you. Like, but the thing is, I'm very utilitarian about what I want from what I'm getting. I also know that I can't afford to obsess too much. I would love to because there are guitar toys I would love to put hands on, but they're not cheap. Yeah, they're all handmade. Like everything that Earthquaker makes is handmade, and that's very cool. But see, the thing is, like, this is my thing with like spending that much money on a pedal. If I was to spend that much money on a pedal, I would not spend that much money on a distortion myself. I would buy one of their other things like the Ghost Echo or any of their other like modulation effects. Oh, I could. That's absolutely where my playing is in terms of concept is more into modulation. So that's where my dollars would go. But that's also just, you know, shows what I'm doing with my music more than anything else. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still go for heavy stuff as well, but I stretch what I do with my heavy with my modulation. Well, anyway, so you... Sorry, did you have one more to go on? Okay. Well, unfortunately, we have a format we got to go on. We have a format now, so kind of want to get to that. You opened Pandora's fucking box this week with one of our new segments, so I'm ready to yell at you over that. But I want to talk about video games for a minute first. You haven't played as much this week, or past 2 weeks, really. Because you've already beaten it. It's funny. I've got a copy of it in my Amazon wish list, just for the simple fact that I want to see if it's as bad as you say it is. And I may feel the same way, but I'm curious to see how I'll feel about it. I got through the first castle in 4. I got through Yukiko's castle in 4 because you'd been talking about the series so much that I literally just wanted to see if I could get anywhere in it, and I've been fixated on the Mega 10 games in general because we've been talking about it so much lately. Mind you, that's the only one I've played. Other than that, I've jumbled around through about 9 different games. Been playing Kudelka on PS1 and getting really frustrated with how slow the combat is. I got a copy of The Longest 5 Minutes. Yes, I was, you know, Joe and I have been looking for a copy in town, and the one place that I was expecting to see a copy, they didn't have it. Like, they supposedly had gotten copies in at Crabtree Valley Mall, and nope, not a single copy when we finally got over there to check for it. So Joe just ended up buying a copy on Best Buy's website, because guess who does not have it? Amazon. They just don't have it, period. It's not even listed as a game you can buy for the Switch. You can buy a download code for the Vita. And that's it. So we decided, well, she decided, I didn't get much say, that we just get a copy from Best Buy while they still had copies, because we didn't want it to be one of those games that we just never found a copy of. I've put a little time into it. That is an interesting experiment, to say the least. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's revolutionary, that the writing's amazing, because the writing's kind of, you know, it's self-conscious about what it is. Not self-conscious. It acknowledges exactly what it is, which is an homage to really typical 90s 16-bit RPG plots, and like the character tropes associated with that. Love and friendship will save the day. Yeah, that kind of crap, and it knows what it is, and that's fine. And I'm kind of digging what it's doing. I like the concept a lot. We're gonna see how it plays for the entirety of its runtime. I've seen it described as being more of a visual novel by a lot of the people that have reviewed it, and that's an interesting way to look at it, to say the least. So we'll see how I feel about that one as time progresses. Unfortunately, I've been distracted by continuing Skyrim and getting a little more mileage on that. I finally hit level 31, and Gotta have a long ways to go in that game. I did play more. I did play more plot than anything this week with that. But that's all I've. That's the bulk of what I've actually played. I have a run of Silent Hill 3 started that I have not continued because I was doing that with our roommate, and I'm waiting for her to get back from her mom's house so that we can continue that run, and then I can clock that off my backlog after ages of not playing it, like the world's shittiest and dumbest gamer. Because I should have played that shit years ago, man. Oh, okay. I think this means it's time for something that I've been dreading since we announced it 2 weeks ago. So, Brandon's recommendation and inclusion for this new format for the show involves reviewing the first episode of an anime every episode of the show. I think eventually we may actually try and see how far we can get with a show, if we can get through the first episode without getting pissed off. At least that's how I see things progressing, maybe. But until then, we're just going to get on here. We're going to review an anime episode each week. And this time, Brandon chose Death Note, the incredibly popular with Hot Topic Dweller anime series. Yes, I'm going to bring up the Hot Topic thing at least 2 more times while we discuss this show. Brandon, would you like to give people a synopsis of this overly popular thing that we probably don't need to give a synopsis of? I know. It's clear that it does not. A Japanese honor student, no less. Yeah, they said it in the show, but I couldn't discern it sharply enough to actually write it in my show notes. Which I wrote notes. I want you to know that there was enough shit I saw in here that I actually wrote notes. It's literally the god of death. Actually, they establish it with one line, and basically, nihilist with a god complex. Okay, the god complex part definitely comes up at the end of the episode, but the nihilist thing is like, everyone on this world is terrible, before he gets the book. Like, there's a scene where he's, like, walking through the alley. He's like, everything's awful. And then the next day, he gets a book that allows him to kill people. He's a fucking supervillain. and not a good one like Thanos. God, can we please get Batman fighting him? Can we please get Batman punching this shit out of this guy? Okay, so can I start breaking things down? Can I get into this? Okay, first and foremost, the inciting event for this taking place, i.e. the book just falling out of the sky, was fucking stupid. Plot convenience. The worst kind of plot convenience. It's like, one day, like, Japanese honors student who's taking classes on religion, because, I mean, I think that's what was happening in the opening bit. It's like, everyone is awful, and this is a shitty world. Magically gets the book that lets him kill people. The entire, like, tone of this show is so fucking dreary that I just kind of wanted to go to sleep. Like, because I can't relate to this like blank slate emo kid shitbag of a character, I'm just like, it is depressed to a point of like, it's like a sedative. The entire first half of this episode is told in voiceover, and then it turns into a fucking power fantasy. Little depressed emo kids who hate all their classmates and want to be God, apparently. Like, I can't help but look at this guy and see so many of these. So I can't help but look at this main character and see a bunch of people who are just depressed because, oh, nobody likes me, I wish I could just kill everyone. That sort of mentality. I know it turns into reshaping the world in their own image, but yeah, that's the person I see when I look at this guy. Someone who is so self-involved and just insufferable. That's the person I see. Again, I said I was going to bring up the Hot Topic thing. Here's time number 2. He is the kid that everybody at Hot Topic thinks they are. At least from the time that the show was coming out. I realized that entire scene has kind of passed, you know, back 10 years ago, and this show is at its peak or whatever. That has been 10 years now, right? I feel like it's just been so damn long. Also, I mean, nobody talks like this anyway. Like there's one scene in this fucking first episode where one of the guys that he kills with the book, like when he's like testing it out before you find out that he's gonna become a like before the God complex stuff kicks in, he's like standing inside the like the convenience store or whatever, and watching the guy, like he passes the guy on the street before he comes in. He's like, "I'm such and such." The guy screams his full name out. It's like, nobody goddamn does this. It's like, bullshit, you would not have shouted your name. Don't even try to pretend like that is how you would act. I don't believe it. Oh. Also, did you notice that this kid's name is Light? His name is Light. His name's fucking Light. Yeah, somebody thought they were really goddamn clever. They thought that they were like writing some of the most clever and like intensely intelligent philosophical shit with this first episode. Okay, so as far as tone goes, we've established just about everything from my notes here. This kid has no afterlife, and that's his punishment. So basically, he's a demon now. That's what we're trying to say. That's what we're trying to get out of this. He's now, John, you are the demons. Is that the effect of his writing in the book? Is that really what we're? So basically, he's immortal. So basically, whenever he creates the world in his own image, he gets to sit back and say, "Yep, good job, buddy." That's his punishment. I'm sorry. I know that this show may get better as it goes on because the concept. I don't know. I think the concept's a bit naff myself. I mean, I could see how it could be done well in the hands of a good writer, but clearly that is not who put their pin on this story. But I'm not sold. Like, I could not possibly watch another episode of this and try to take it seriously. And especially whenever I know that, like, apparently the movies are considered terrible. Like, the live-action movie is considered awful. You know, with that kind of talk, Brandon, I'm wondering why the hell you wanted to do this show. One more thing. As far as tone goes, and I know that I'm sorry to interrupt, but like the whole split screen thing, the whole like Ocean's 11 split screen bits, where it's like montaging in individual frames, that's terrible. That does not match the tone of this show at all. At all. Yes. Whoosh. It's like, write your name in that fucking book, you little shithead. Of course, that's probably what happens in the last episode. he realizes how much of a villain he is, and he writes his name in there. I want to know. I want to know. I'm looking it up. I'm going to Google it. So, Brandon, if you had to rate this show on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? 3? You know, I'd give it a 3. You know, that's pretty fair. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's... No. Come on. Jesus Christ. Oh, by the way, spoilers. He does die at the end. The demon writes his name in there. Oh, what an abysmal first episode. Brandon, I hope you're happy. What are you doing to me next week? Oh, God. Why didn't I say I had one in mind? That's right, because I'd have to think of one. So, do you want to do your thing a week, or am I doing my thing a week first? Alright, so thing a week for this week, and to reiterate, the thing a week is the thing we choose to talk about each week. It's something that we find to be our favorite thing of said week. And my thing a week is the deluxe edition remaster of Marillion's Misplaced Childhood, the 1985 neo-prog concept album masterpiece that I finally got in the mail last week after waiting for well over 3 weeks for it to come in from England. It came in from England, but God, the wait was painful. But let me tell you something, it's the only way you can get it now. Or at least it's the only way I looked at to get it. And that's because it's already out of print. So if you find that sounds appealing to you, hit up Marillion.com and get a copy before they sell out. They are not reprinting these remasters. Okay, as for the product itself, this remaster set it comes in in like a canvas hard case DVD box type thing. It is 5 discs. 5 discs, guys. The first disc is the remastered album. It's a remaster from 2017. It's not the 1998 remaster. It comes with a double live album recorded in Utrecht, which, let me tell you something, that live album is phenomenal. You get to hear a band kind of at the top of their game for that particular time period, because this was with their first vocalist, Fish. It's got a great set list. They play the entirety of Misplaced Childhood from beginning to end. And that alone makes it pretty it makes it worth picking up a copy just for that alone. But all the other songs from their first two albums are also really good performed live, which admittedly I'd not heard a single one of those songs before listening to this live album, because I've never actually heard their first two albums. A thing I hope to, correct whenever I finally get the remasters. Do you have it on CD or do you have it on vinyl? Because now you have the vinyl copies of several of their early albums. Yeah. The 2-disc. Yeah, you see, the thing that's gonna throw me with buying these remasters is that I have all but 3 of the 2-disc remasters. So my shelf almost spells Marillion, but here's the other thing that's a kicker. I'll get into. So anyway, the 4th disc is singles, like the single cut versions of some of the songs, as well as demos for the entire album of Misplaced Childhood. As for the album itself, like I said, it's a neo-prog concept album, but let's face it, as much of a prog rock record as Misplaced Childhood is, it's also a masterful pop record. Yes, a song which the band keeps joking about in the on the 5th disc in the little documentary about how that song was not a single. Logically, Kaylee doesn't work as a single according to every other song on the radio, because it's got a verse, a chorus, and then it's got a guitar solo. And then it changes key for the second verse before changing back to the original key to go into the chorus. So, yeah, it's still a prog rock record, but it's got a lot of pop sensibility to it. It's a very accessible album. It's an album that you can put on for just about anybody, and if they have a problem with it, that just means they have bad taste. That's the thing. I don't know. It sounds so good despite having the sound of the 80s, because that keyboard sound is absolutely 1980s. Yeah. And it's also well written, so the lyrics aren't just stupid. There is a story in that album that I'm trying to follow, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. There are recurring names and things going between each of the songs, so I'm still trying to get my grip on all of that. The 5th disc is a Blu-ray. It contains a 75-minute conversation with the band and the producer that recorded it. And they tell stories about the writing and the recording of the album, and that's a really nice. It's not exactly a documentary in the sense of what I like in a documentary, but it's a bunch of guys sitting around talking about a record they recorded together, and it's entertaining in that if you like that sort of thing. I watched it with Jo, and she hated watching it after it passed the 50-minute mark, and I told her there was still 25 minutes left. She was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you trying to kill me?" But the stories that they tell are pretty funny, though. Talking about, going to Germany because that was a cheap place for EMI to send them to record the album. They talked about how much they hated the fame that came with it as well. The fame that Misplaced Childhood brought them is part of the reason Fish ended up quitting. It put them in a really bad state, when they recorded Clutching at Straws. And I mean, I knew that part just because I've heard Clutching at Straws, and if you've ever heard Clutching at Straws, that is not a happy album. It's one of my favorites. Pull Me Under. Yeah, and Pull Me Under specifically. You see, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because Marillion went through the same thing with EMI. Not that they had a major hit before Kaylee, but like Market Square Heroes put them on the map at least, and people were at least familiar with the name Marillion in a small way. It was big enough for them to be released by EMI at the time, but they were having the same problem that that Rush had, where they never had a big radio hit, and the label was about to drop them, and they were like, okay, well, if we're gonna go down, we're gonna write a concept album. And that was the attitude they went into the studio with to record Misplaced Childhood. I mean, to even write it, they wrote a concept album, and they didn't tell the label. they didn't tell the label, and the label sent in the producer to come in and record the album with them. And they told that guy what they wanted to do, and they said, and the producer was there to find the hit. He was there to find a single for them to release from the album. So they talk about the fact that that the producer did help them put together an actual album, and then gave the label Kaylee as the single. And here's the best part, and this is really fun, and it's actually reflected on the live album, or the live CDs. When they wrote the album Misplaced Childhood, they did not consider it to be 10 songs. They said it was one song. And whenever you listen to that disc in the live CD, Fish says, okay, we're going to play one more song for you, and it's Misplaced Childhood. But then they played the entirety of this album. So, and it's really funny whenever they're talking about all the different sections of the album, of the concept album itself. They had to grab the album to remember names of each section, other than Kaylee and Lavender, because they still play Kaylee by itself in concert. Whenever I saw them, they played Kaylee because of fucking course they did. It's the only like pop single that they played, unless okay, so understand me when I say this. I really like H. He's got a great voice, and he's done a lot of great work with the band. H singing Fish is noticeable. Like he can't hit the same notes. I mean, hell, Fish can't even hit those notes anymore because they were young when they wrote those songs. So in a way, you kind of hear H not exactly, I won't say struggling to sing those songs, but he sings them so much differently that it's noticeable, and I could see how it would piss off your hardcore fans of the original songs. That said, I still really like the way H sings Kaylee. I bought the MP3 of the concert I went to the same day that I got my 5-disc set in, and I had basically all this Marillion sitting on in my hand to listen to. It was really hard trying to choose between the 2 hours of music that I'd already heard performed in front of me and this 5-disc like mega set of an album that I've listened to dozens of times on vinyl. But I ended up listening to the Misplaced Childhood, and you know what? I've listened to that album probably 9-10 times since getting that set. It flies by. It's such a good record. So yes, if you want to hear some absolutely sublime, like pop prog rock, check out Misplaced Childhood. You will not regret it. It's such a good album. It's my thing of the week. Yeah. Oh, and it's also got some terrible music videos on it. Yes. Yes! It's got 80s music videos on it. Ooh, they're not the worst I've ever seen. I mean, the 80s had all kinds of terrible, but man, it's an 80s record, all right. Okay, Brandon, thing a week. Go for it. Are we about to discuss the thing I think we're going to discuss? Oh, it is. It is. Yes! I wanted to... Okay, before you get into this, Brandon, I really wanted to have a section where we talked about Infinity War because I saw it too, and I really wanted to talk about it on the show. So, can we put up a spoilers thing here? Okay, we're putting up the blanket spoiler warning. We don't have a time mark for this, but like you may want to skip ahead because we're going deep here. It feels like the world's largest cast. We're talking like, if you thought the cast of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World was too big, this shit dwarfs it. He does have a small amount of screen time. Well, okay, so I've been trying to dig into a little bit of the scope of what the Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War story was in the comics. And it's very much what is considered the cosmic Marvel stories, meaning that your Doctor Strange, your Guardians of the Galaxy would be involved. Basically, people from space. That's your characters in a cosmic Marvel storyline, which is one of the coolest things about this movie being such a success is that Marvel in terms of the film studio has just pulled off an impressive gambit. They just turned their superhero franchise into a cracking damn space opera. And they did it fucking beautifully. They did some really impressive stuff just leading up to Infinity War. I'm talking about like two amazing Guardians of the Galaxy films. Doctor Strange, which I really like despite the fact that I think that Benedict Cumberbatch is irritating as hell. Which made him... I like Doctor Strange. He plays that character well because it's him. The only other thing I've ever liked Cumberbatch in was Hobbit, and I specifically mean just the second one because that was the only one I actually enjoyed watching. Well, you missed the best one. The second was the best one. The third one's fucking pointless. That's because the first one was not good. Anyway, we're talking about Infinity War here. So, yeah, the writing in this movie is amazing for two reasons. One, you got all these characters to coexist on the same screen. Two, not only did they coexist on the same screen, they worked well together and they play off of each other, not just in the fight scenes, which were very cool and well choreographed, but also in the fact that they were able to like have really strong character associated lines with each other. Like I know it was in the trailer, but it gave me a chuckle anyway in the movie. Whenever Tony and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man are on the fucking spaceship, and it's like, oh, who are you? I am Doctor Strange. Oh, we're using our made-up names. I'm Spider-Man. Yeah. Oh God, he's like, I am one of the like 12 people left on this planet who actually enjoys the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, at least the first two, not the third one. But yeah, the third one sucks ass. It wasn't even that. I mean, it's watchable. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but man, is it a mess. And the thing is, Spider-Man 3 is part of the reason why people could have easily been worried about Infinity War. Because if you look at the poster for Infinity War, it's like, goddamn anxiety attack. How many people are in this movie? So that's the other thing that's really impressive. Like, this is one hell of a way to to celebrate your 10th anniversary. I don't think they could possibly do something as interesting as this for their 20th. I mean, because... Dude, prepare for it, because it's happening. That's right. As you know, that's a thing I was about to say is like, so here we go. Spoilers again. If you haven't seen the movie yet, be warned. So Thanos kills half the universe. And he literally kills half the universe. And by that I mean, your favorite character probably has a good chance of dying in this movie. Yeah, so you know that it's... Yeah, you definitely take the teeth out of something like that because, I mean, anyway, if you follow cinema at all anyway, you knew he's not gonna die. Oh, I'm sure. But at the same time, I would not have an issue, like, as much as I like Gamora as a character and I would miss her being on screen, I wouldn't mind seeing a storyline continue without her just for seeing what it does to Peter Quill. It would be devastating for him because, and even whenever she died, whenever he watched her, like, get taken, And and at the same time, it's kind of like playing up the fact that he still sells the Peter Quill, and you're like, I told you to go right, and it's like it's slightly comical because he'd just been like saying all this shit. Yeah, like he's gonna be fucked up by this, and I would love to see what that does for him as a character, and I would love to see what Chris Pratt does with that as a performer. I would love to see him try to tackle more gravity, like because whenever he had to do gravity in Guardians 2, good God. Like, that movie's so good. But, I mean, at the ending, whenever everybody, died and disappeared, I was stunned by who was left. Because I'm waiting for the day when Robert Downey Jr. is not Tony Stark anymore. And I'm not saying that in like I'm excited for it. I'm anticipating it happening because it's going to happen eventually. And whenever he got stabbed, I was like, shit, we gotta watch Tony Stark die in this movie. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things like, this makes sense, and I'm not shocked by it because of where Tony's story has gone since Avengers, the first one. But then it didn't happen, and I was just kind of shaken by it. Same thing with, like, Captain America's still walking around at the end of this movie. It's public record that the actor does not want to play Captain America for so I was shocked that he was still standing. It is a two-parter because the next one's coming out next year. Yeah. Yeah, like this movie does not fuck around. It's got a damn death toll. Yeah. Yeah. Motherfucker. It's a PG-13 movie. He could have gotten the one in. Which... Thanos, man. Like... Yep. More impressive than that, like yes, he is a challenge to fight, and his henchmen are actually downright scary. Like they are threatening. The thing that makes Thanos a great villain above any of that is that you believe he thinks he's right. And that is always the mark of a truly great villain. Thanos believed he was right to do the things he did. And that's why he was so heartbroken when he had to kill Gamora. I mean, the world where Tony and everybody winds up was his home world. Like the thing he's trying to prevent was what happened to his home world, and it was because and he's like certain it was overpopulation that caused it. Yeah, and powerfully so. Like for being a big CGI monster, like you kind of feel with him at times. Like whenever like you sense what's going on with him. There's actual performance on display here, which you don't frequently get with like the big CGI stand-in characters like that. That's There's so much about this movie that I find very impressive on a technical level, and the fact that you sense Thanos's like emotional presence is part of that. It's a big part of that. You see, that's an interesting question, and this is actually something I had heard in the past before Thor, before the last Thor came out. Ragnarok. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry. So, Mark Ruffalo said at the time that Bruce Banner and Thor get their own kind of mini like trilogy across the next three movies that he's in. So with Thor Ragnarok, we see him, kind of like living the life, being this arena champion and all, and he's like beloved by all these people after being ousted from Earth in Avengers 2. Electric Boogaloo, sorry, had to go for the easy joke. And then he's back on Earth, and he's having like performance anxiety, so to speak. Right, yeah. Well, exactly, yeah. Like, I want to know what this story. I'm excited to see what that character arc is going to be because that's the best. This is the best we're going to get out of a Hulk story, until they eventually realize that, yeah, everybody loves Hulk from Mark Ruffalo. Twice, yeah, and well, one time doesn't count because it was crap. I didn't hate the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton in it. I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was okay. But then again, that's kind of how I feel about. It's kind of how I felt about the. I'm looking for the word. The first Iron Man. It's okay. It. Oh man, the first Thor is like some people love it. Like some people hold up the first Thor as a great movie, and I do not agree with them at all. Yeah. Now that said, because of Infinity War and because it has been 10 years, and because I've only seen some of these movies once, I've thought about watching the entire series again. I've seen I've seen both Guardians movies at least twice, if not three times, and I've seen the first Avengers twice, so that I can say. I I only saw it theatrical once. I bet that was fun. Yeah, it's true. But I kind of want to rewatch the second one from the perspective of seeing it in the framework of the overall series now, because it is as far as I can say, it's the weakest of the three Avengers films. Um, And if nothing else, Brandon, every single Avengers movie is still better than the Justice League. No, it doesn't. I would especially pick Thor sequels over Wonder Woman because I actually liked Thor Dark World. Yes. No, they really could not. And I am so glad they took the shot that they did with it because it's very fun. Loki may very well be dead. Yeah, because if it had been an illusion, we would have seen some sign of it. The thing I'm kind of curious about is the fact that Valkyrie wasn't even in there. Like, not even in the movie. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. You're right. I hope. She's yeah. God, yeah, that sucked because that means that that means that what's his name? Idris Elba doesn't have a big franchise film to go to be in anymore because Dark Tower's not getting a fucking sequel. Shut your fucking mouth. That's not gonna happen. Idris Elba needs to tell them to fuck off. Because that movie sucked. There are no redeeming qualities to that movie. No, they read the Brandon, they read the Wikipedia for the books. That's about it. Yeah, look, I mean, they glanced at it. They got character names. There's a quartet, and there's a guy called the Man in Black, and the Beams, and oh yeah, young adult movie. Yeah, we got it. Young adult. Got it. Yep, nailed it. I'm sorry. By and large, that's what he did in the first book. But the Crimson King was trying to destroy the tower. He was pulling the support out of the beams. So. No, it was using people of all ages, the Breakers, and you see more about the Breakers in books 5 through 7. But that's not how the Breakers worked. Movie. It's not how it worked. You didn't hook them up to a special like machine chair and their like brains shot damage to the tower itself. That's not how it worked at all. Anyway, this is a discussion for a different podcast. Anything else on Infinity War, Brandon? Yes, because I don't want to. Yes. Thank God. Yes, and then we've got Captain Marvel in March. Yeah, basically, this is how I predict things are going to go in Avengers 5 or 4, I guess. Um, we're going to see a bunch of setup for how Captain Marvel is going to save everybody's ass in Avengers 4. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this is the first time that Marvel's given one of their like female characters a lead movie, which is yeah. I mean, that doesn't shock. I mean, I don't know that myself, but I guess you're right. I'd never heard of Black Widow before I saw the Avengers. Yep. By the way, one last thing on this movie before we move on to the next segment. I'm so very happy that they went with this version of Thanos in terms of having a motivation that's not stupid. Because I've been trying to read the Infinity Gauntlet comic. His motivation's dumb. Yes, he's in trying to impress Lady Death by killing a bunch of people. Literally death. That's hilarious. Oh, and one last note, and then we're going on to the next segment because we're running long on our show this week compared to how well we did last time. Um, T.J. Miller is the most egotistical son of a bitch apparently because he's announced he's not going to be in X-Force when the time comes. Yeah, T.J. Miller is a secondary character in Deadpool, and he's also in Silicon Valley. Yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong, I like T.J. Miller's performances, but he's a character actor. But the fact that he's like adamantly saying he will not be in X-Force, like I don't know what else you're going to be in there, T.J. Miller, because you're the only movie you've ever headlined yourself wasn't very good. Um, it's Deadpool's X-Men as best I can tell, which I thought was so damn funny in the movie. Again, it's the trailer because the movie's not out yet. In 2 weeks it'll be out. The crack that he makes is like, our team is going to be called something new and original and exciting, the X-Force. Of course, I'm sure you saw in the trailer where Cable's like brooding at him, and he's like, "You're starting to sound like a DC character," or something to that extent. I fucking died. Yes. Okay, that's enough Marvel talk for tonight. The other thing that this movie's made me want to do is made me want to pick up the Lego Avengers game, because that and the Completionist reviewed it, and it looks like a lot of fun. And I think it's been long enough since the last time I played a Lego game that I think I could get a good kick out of it. So anyway, it is time for the challenge. And again, we're going to reiterate for anyone who hears this that's new to our show. The challenge is just that. Brandon and I challenge each other to a very specific gaming task each show, and if we don't complete it, we gotta do something that we still haven't decided what that is yet, because we're not even gonna decide that this time. Yeah. Why don't you remind everybody what my challenge was, Brandon? Okay, I did in fact finish Quantum Break after 7 more attempts. Yes, shut up everybody. 7 more attempts to defeat the final boss of that game. I finally defeated Littlefinger in what I would call one of the worst boss fights ever. So, let's reiterate. The last boss of Quantum Break's not even a boss. You have to fight a wave of enemies while dodging massive area of effect attacks from Littlefinger. Yes, it's Littlefinger, the guy from Game of Thrones. That's who plays the villain in this game. Not even joking. And after you fight the first wave, he fills the room with a giant AoE attack. And I mean literally fills almost the entirety of the room. You have to go to 1/10 of the room at the opposite end of where it's hitting. And then you go, and then you run over to the other side and you shoot him once. And then it starts the next wave. Then you have to dodge 3 of the AoE attacks. And they change sides of the room each time. I hate this, and I still consider it to be one of the cheapest and most irritating damn things, because the actual fighting in that game, as like the actual combat of Quantum Break is really fun. And when I was playing it, 2 years ago when the fucking thing came out, I had a great time playing it simply because the combat was very fun. It's a fun game. It's not a deep game, and frankly, I think that the studio that made it was maybe overshooting the whole TV/video game thing a little bit too much. But then again, it was the time when Microsoft wanted to, start doing things with television or whatever the hell that was. That was a weird thing the first couple of years of the Xbox One. Anyway, the TV part was okay-ish, and the game was fun. It just didn't need to all kind of be crammed in there together. Interesting experiment. Like, history will forget this game, except for those of us who remember the experiment part of it. So, I don't hate that I played it, but I hate that final boss for ruining what was an otherwise really solid experience. Solid. As in, this would make a good mid-tier game. Not a massive AAA title like they were trying to say that you should go and go buy this Xbox for. This is a game that's like, oh, this is a game that I'll play because I've got an Xbox and it's also pretty good. The kind of thing we would have gotten a lot of during the PS2 era. Or the PS3, I guess. So, but yes, I finished it. I am happy to say that I have finally finished Quantum Break after 2 years of sitting on it and getting pissed off with it every couple months as I was looking for a game to finish rather than just, try to finish like I do with so many games. So yes, Brandon, I did finish. I get one magic cookie, I guess. I get a magic cookie for having done this. Okay. Brandon, your challenge was to finally finish Disc 1 of Grandia for the PS1. Do you get a magic cookie? I think I remember that. I loved Grandia so much. I don't remember most of it, but I had such a good time with it. I haven't played it in 12 years. If I recall correctly, Disc 2 starts when you go to the other side of the wall or something. Okay. I just... Okay. Very cool. I am glad you've finally gotten there, because I'm going to remind you that you have 12 games to finish this year, and that's one of them. So, gotta get cracking, man. I mean, I've started all of mine except for one, but I had half the ones you did. So, alright. Well, I'm glad that we both have a magic cookie to start this challenge thing off right. We both have the magic cookie. Is that really what we're calling this? Fair enough. Magic cookies it is. Alright, so how will we be vying for the magic cookie next time? Brandon, what is my challenge? Okay. Okay, I can't do this for the simple fact that I'd have to beat the entire game up to that point. Fucking double agent. That, yeah, you have to play every level on that difficulty. And besides, that's homicidal, brother. That's a fucking... That shit's hard on easy. The reason it's so goddamn hard is simply because it's a fucking escort mission. That's it. The AI for her is awful. Like, of all, like, everybody says that game has aged so poorly because the controls and stuff is like, fuck you, I can get past the controls. I can't get past the fact that Natalia can't fucking follow you safely without getting shot in the face. Oh, no doubt, but, like, I can still adjust to it. After some time. It's really funny. Like, I still remember how I did it and all, and I can play games on it. But like every time I pick up an N64 game, like it feels 20 times harder than it did back then. Shit, I'm not getting a cookie next time. I'll take that one. I'll take that one. That's mean, but I'll take that one. Okay, I'm writing it down. Alright. Yeah, I still have the PS2 disc for that one, so I can do that. Whew, that's a mean one. Alright. I feel a little bit less terrible about what I'm about to do to you now. Your challenge, sir. Your goal for the magic cookie. And this is from a fresh save file, because you have to do... I know that you haven't started this one yet. This is from your list. Your challenge for this period of time between now and our next podcast. This was 2 weeks for this first one, so it might be 2 weeks for this one. You'll have to determine how you want to do this. Your goal is to finish the prologue. That is the everything before real chapter 1 kicks in of Final Fantasy Tactics. It is not easy. But I'm going to give you the following tip to make your attempt to play through this game, the prologue, easier. You know those extra characters that are in the in the prologue section, the ones that follow you around and like get hit all the time and make shitty attacks and all that. Don't try and keep them alive. Do not like ignore them. Just fucking ignore them. Tend to your own party. That will save your life on that game. Yeah, their names are escaping me. Their names are escaping me. Not Ramza, but Delita is one of them, and then it's the other guy. Delita and shit. The guy stabs you in the back at the end of the prologue. That guy. No, Ramza is the main character. Yeah, Ramza is the main character. But yeah, that's your goal, to get through the prologue. Well, I mean, you're throwing me a damn curveball with the Hitman 2 thing. Ooh. Oh, man. That's going to be hard as hell. Because I'm not that good at stealth. And I'm not, hey, I've still got to do it. I've still got to do it. Like that. Ooh, I was about to ask you. What then? Okay, well, that's... I'm pretty sure it won't. With a title like that, I'm pretty sure that I will hate it. We'll see. Alright, well, thank you all for joining us tonight. We are still getting used to the new format, as you can tell. But we're having a good time with it. We hope you are as well. Follow us here on YouTube or come to our Facebook page at facebook.com/ZTriggerLive. And yeah, we'll be back maybe next week, maybe a week later. It all depends on how I feel next week. Actually, since I'm working my new job, I'll probably want to do it next Friday. The only thing that's like killing me with this new thing is like finding time to play video games, which is why I'm pretty sure I'm not getting a magic cookie next week. But until then, yes, if you have recommendations for the Magic Cookie Challenge, you can post them on our YouTube page here, or you can also do it on Facebook. All right, thanks you so much. That was not an actual word. And good night. See you guys next time.